So what's it like being a Bitcoin VC these days? Because kind of for the same way I was talking about earlier, like the expressiveness nature of Bitcoin is just like surface area for optionality about stuff. So I'd imagine being a Bitcoin VC, I don't know, do you consider yourself a Bitcoin VC or just a VC?
I'm just a VC, you know.
Just a VC.
I'm a VC who happens to be a Bitcoiner.
Yeah.
And
okay.
a lot of people got it twisted and they thought that I'm a Bitcoin VC. And I think that I corrected the record on that, you know, pretty aggressively back in the day.
Yeah, but you did it from the perspective of the angry cyber hornet Bitcoin max like fundamentalists who thought you were exclusively a Bitcoin VC. But when it's coming from like more of the Ethereum camp and I call you a Bitcoin VC, I'm just like, oh, he's a VC who knows all the Bitcoin deals.
Yeah, so I'm having a great time being a Bitcoin VC, or like a VC who looks at Bitcoin stuff, because there's more stuff to invest in Bitcoin than there ever has been, actually. So like, what have been the VC investments in Bitcoin historically? There was like Blockstream, there was a lot of money. There were some custodians, there were some exchanges, miners, if you were into that. Mm-hmm. And then there were Lightning application infrastructure deals. And that was it. And some, you know, some like custody stuff.
Nothing other than the Lightning deals, none of those categories were about the actual state inside of the Bitcoin blockchain.
That's right. They were all about service provision and like ancillary services around Bitcoin. Today, it's totally different. Something has changed. There really has been a shift. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing high quality founders that are coming to Bitcoin that are newly excited about building new infrastructures on it. And I would say specifically new L2s. From the ZK rollup perspective, EVM compatible L2s, optimistic rollups, staking, like restaking, using Bitcoin security for other blockchains. So we've been like, I would love to be more active on Bitcoin in prior years. I would have loved to have been, because that would have better aligned like what I care about with my fund. But now, really almost for the first time, there's finally a glut of deals and high quality founders that I feel comfortable investing in, where I think the outcomes can be really big as well and very useful to Bitcoin. So it's pretty much like the best time ever to be a Bitcoin VC, but specifically one who's open-minded and more moderate. A lot of the Bitcoin only VCs, ironically, won't participate in this season at all, which I think is a huge mistake, but that's fine with me because they're, you know, they're occasionally my competition. So
well, maybe another way to kind of like define the landscape here is that like all those like Bitcoin deals that you talked about, the miners, the service providers, the exchanges, custodians, those are all like exogenous to Bitcoin. They're all like looking out at Bitcoin from the outside. And one of the things that like, one of the reasons why I kind of like skipped over Bitcoin and went straight for the Ethereum world was because like I saw the internal endogenous side of Ethereum, and that just kind of nerd sniped me. That is something that Bitcoin didn't have. Like we had internal DeFi. We had our own exchange. It was called Uniswap. We had our own money market. It was called Compound. And that internal side of things was just like the exciting thing to me. And that's the thing that like Bitcoin has never really had. Even with Lightning, you can barely really call that internal, even though it does have some semblance of like statefulness about Bitcoin. But I think really this whole explosion of ordinals, the fact that it exploded so quickly, and then it's also been followed on by even more akin innovations, I kind of think it just alludes to like the amount of like latent potential energy. There is demand for like an internal endogenous side of Bitcoin that has never been able to be expressed before.
Yeah, the conditions today are very suitable for that to finally be built. Like Ethereum has built a lot of this stuff. We know now, after a lot of these experiments on Ethereum, that some of these architectures work, like optimistic rollups. I think we have enough data to consider that to be like a successful technology. We have this hot ball of money that's a lot of it's relatively new entrants to Bitcoin, focus on ordinals and inscriptions and BRC20s, which is like silly as BRC20s are. That's a proof point to people that people are willing to go through the brain damage of using Bitcoin itself if they think they can make money. And a lot of that's capital from the East, actually. And so that's another catalyst that makes builders think that they can attract liquidity and capital Then you have general excitement around Bitcoin with the rally, which is more of an ETF thing, and the halving, which I don't think matters, but other people think it matters. And so there's like new enthusiasm. There's a wealth effect in Bitcoin. Maybe, okay, some people that are big Bitcoiners are going to be willing to, do interesting stuff when these, applications get built. And very importantly, there's a disillusionment among Lightning, among people that are sort of brave enough to make that assertion. So those catalysts are coming together to create like a perfect storm, basically, for actually funding new infrastructures on Bitcoin and getting the capital to make them worthwhile. And there have been sidechains on Bitcoin in the past, like Rootstocks and Sovereign and Stacks, I would say, represented itself as a sidechain and considered a true sidechain, but they didn't have the right catalyst. So the timing wasn't right. The timing is right now. And for that reason, it's a very exciting time in Bitcoin, despite, all the mean stuff that I just said about it.
There's a meme that Chris Berniski put out there about Bitcoin, which is like Bitcoin is like soap. The more you touch it, the less you have of it. And I saw a retort to that meme, which is like ETH is like soap. You should probably use it every single day, which is like it has a lot of utility and you can do stuff with it. And that's why it's valuable. And so long as I've been watching Bitcoin, Bitcoin has always been just like, stack sats, stay humble, grow your Bitcoins, don't touch it, put it in cold storage, low cost basis, no touchy, hands off. And that's been paired well nicely with like the lack of expressivity up on in Bitcoin up until this point. But now like there's a friction there where there's a lot of ordinal stuff, and some people are like very happy to go start playing with their Bitcoins and start playing in the ordinals land. But in terms of the total market cap of BTC, the $1 trillion, I'm going to still guess it's a large minority of total capital that's like playing in ordinals expressive Bitcoin land. And so in order to get this endogenous side of Bitcoin fully expressed, we're going to need to like kind of change the culture of some of that no touchy Bitcoins, that cold storage, deep cold storage Bitcoins. I mean, like we can have both, but like there's still like a cultural divide here between like the come play with me Bitcoin and the deep cold storage Bitcoin.
Yeah, and also the UX of like doing interesting stuff on Bitcoin has been challenging in the past, but I think that'll change. The ordinals thing has catalyzed the creation of new wallets, better transactional experiences as well, which is really important. The major exchanges seem to care about it. Again, they're building like dedicated wallets and tools and things like that. They're realigning themselves with Bitcoin. So I feel good about it. I think the infrastructure is getting there. There's a lot of work to do. But yeah, I think overall it's a pretty good time in Bitcoin.
To continue leveling up your crypto game, then you need to get on the Bankless newsletter. It's the world's most popular crypto email and is completely free. Just click below to sign up.